Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Accelerate Innovation in an Age of Digital Disruption with HPE Synergy, brought to you by Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, WEEI, and Ziff Davis. I'm Karen Bannon, and I will be your moderator for today. We have just a few quick notes before we begin. Slides will advance automatically throughout our event, and in addition, the console you're looking at is customizable. You can move any of the widgets and windows you see open in, as well as explore the widgets at the bottom of your screen. Digital business transformation is creating a need for IT infrastructure transformation, and yet most organizations are struggling to figure this out. Their infrastructure is causing them headaches and standing in the way of agility and success. But what if an IT infrastructure, your IT infrastructure, was no longer the bottleneck to success, but the engine that enabled operations to automate, developers to innovate, and your business to grow? Today, our experts from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and WEEI, which is an IT solutions and services provider committed to customer satisfaction, which was recently named HPE Partner of the Year. We'll be discussing HPE Synergy, a single platform built to support both traditional IT environments and the new breed of applications and services that leverage mobility, big data, and cloud technologies to drive revenue and new customer experiences. And so with that, I'd like to introduce our experts, Leslie Mayer, Vance Barron, and David Faithful. Leslie is VP and GM Enterprise Servers and Converged Systems with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. She's a leader for Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Servers and Converged Systems for North America, where she directs product management and product marketing, plans road-to-market roadmaps, grows business development, and oversees supply chain management. Her focus is on server solutions with HPE's plus Blades, Synergy, Converged Systems, and mission-critical offerings to drive greater customer value. Vance Barron is Director Americas Blade System and Composable Business at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Vance is a leader for Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Composable Infrastructure in North America, where he directs product management and product marketing, plans route-to-market roadmaps, and business development. His focus is on hybrid cloud data center solutions with HPE's Synergy, Blade System, and OneView offerings to drive greater customer value. Vance joined HPE in 1996 as a pre-sales engineer, and since that role, he has held a variety of region and worldwide roles focusing on working with customers and partners to help them better compete and grow revenue through fueling change. David Faithful is a chief architect at WEEI, as mentioned before, which is an IT solutions and services provider committed to customer satisfaction. David has more than 28 years of information technology industry experience delivering technology-differentiated solutions to private, public, and global customers. Prior to joining the company in 2009, David was a technology architect and senior account executive at IBM, focusing on retail technology solutions and high-performance computing environments for higher education. Additionally, David spent more than 18 years at the combined companies of Hewlett-Packard, Compaq, and Digital Equipment, supporting customers in data center, server, storage, and networking roles. And with that, let's get started. Leslie, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. So before we get started, I'd like to just start with a bit of a context of what really some terms are here around digital disruption and innovation in this space. So digital transformation is really currently disrupting pretty much every industry in our world because of the more and more intertwined we become with technology. And so these transformations are really impacting a lot of industries. You can think of some that come to mind, such as the travel industry, if you think of Airbnb, or transportation with taxi services, where you think of Uber, as well as all the digitization of books and music, newspapers, and videos. And there's lots of transformation underway in other industries. So at the end of the day, it's really about using these technologies around social, mobile, big data and analytics, and cloud to generate new revenue sources and improve customer experience. So we call this the idea economy, and it's putting pressure on organizations to keep pace with the changes in the industry. In fact, IDC says that about a third of the top 20 market leaders will be disrupted by 2018, and that about 68% of businesses, according to CEO Magazine, view time to market as a critical differentiator. So using that as a backdrop, what I wanted to talk about is the fact that businesses have a clear mandate to thrive in this digital economy, and IT and lines of businesses are at the forefront of this major transformation that I refer to as this digital transformation. And to take advantage of all these technology-centric competitive advantages around social, mobile, big data analytics, and cloud, that they need to be able to have a way to support both their traditional environments, but also be able to support this next generation of applications around these new technology-centric advantages. And this is at the heart of the idea economy. So to do that, most of the data center footprint that are being managed today and the majority of the resources and infrastructure supports current generation applications. And these current generation applications or traditional applications are really critically important to run the business. They're typically workload optimized. They're focused around software applications that are optimized for hardware. They're about resiliency. And they tend to be focused on running the business, very operationally centric and cost-focused, and they're often updated 1 to 2 times a year. So very much our core data center infrastructures that exist today. But to create this digital transformation, there's a new breed of applications, some next-generation applications, and they're more about what you might refer to as being the business. So when we think about running the business with our traditional applications, being the business with these new applications would be about new revenue sources. They tend to be dynamic, and oftentimes they're developed with a new model of software development, DevOps, and it's about accelerating the value creation. And so in this environment, it's very much about applications that are very agile, very flexible to support this idea economy. And so the real question is, how can IT organizations support both of those environments in a way that's both feasible, flexible, and cost-effective? So we believe at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise that really a new category of infrastructure was needed and is needed to power this idea economy. And in fact, we're not alone. Many of the key analyst organizations will be talking about and have talked about this concept of a new category of infrastructure that we call composable infrastructure. And what this category is designed to do is take our current generation traditional applications and next generation applications and put them together in a single set of infrastructure. And it really takes the best of converged systems and then integrates the capabilities of the software-defined capabilities with hyperconverged and then extends it even further. So, for example, many organizations have a lot of their IT infrastructure based on traditional infrastructure. It tends to be either physical, virtual, or containerized workloads, but it tends to be silo and defined by the application that uses it. And many times it takes months to deploy these resources for developers. Then converged infrastructure became much more popular maybe 6 years ago, where vendors like HPE would take the elements, the compute, the storage, and fabric elements, and put them together in a pre-configured physical IT configuration. Again, it was typically hardware-defined and is hardware-defined and maybe focused on workloads. So, for example, at HPE, we have converged systems, and those converged systems are for SAP HANA, and we also have converged systems for virtualized workloads. And the idea here is that we're going to reduce some of the complexity, make it faster to deploy, and now we go from maybe months to weeks to deploy that same set of infrastructure. Hyperconverged introduces the concept of removing the complexity of SAN and doing software-defined storage, very much for fluid virtual IT environments. And again, it starts to take it to the next level of reducing time and complexity, now down to hours. What composable infrastructure brings is the capability to support those traditional workloads that we're very familiar with these next-generation cloud applications, all in a single set of infrastructure that's fully software-defined, essentially infrastructure as a service, and it essentially allows you to do physical, virtual, and containerized workloads, all in this software-defined environment, and now bringing your provisioning time down to minutes. So very much about operational efficiencies and flexibility. So I'll take a minute just to define what composable infrastructure is by 3 key design principles. So composable infrastructure is a new category of infrastructure, is around fluid resource pools, and what I mean by that is we have a single block of compute, storage, or fabric, so fine level of granularity, and multiple types of those compute, storage, and fabric elements, and you have the ability to auto-integrate these resources to support your workloads, and they can be physical, virtual, or containerized. The second element is software-defined intelligence, and this is all about having the ability to have templates to derive the workload composition. So you're taking software-defined templates that are repeatable. They remove the complexity and provide automation, so you speed deployment, and it takes the elements of compute, storage, and fabric, those resource pools I just mentioned, pulls those elements together to map them to a workload composition. And then the third key architectural principle for composable infrastructure is around a unified API. And what the unified API does is it integrates and provides a way to have a single line of code to abstract things like provisioning, configurations, updates, diagnostics, and gives you full programmability of your infrastructure. So essentially a single line of code or a few lines of code to program or use your infrastructure elements to support your workloads. And so it integrates with other tools and provides that really single interface into the environment. So therefore, on the left, we may have traditional workloads, and on the right, we may have new style of workloads, but all of those can operate very efficiently and flexibly within this infrastructure category called Composable. So the benefits of this is the ability to reduce over-provisioning through this capability of using fluid resource pools. So when you've got fluid resource pools, you can map those elements as they're needed to the workload and not need to over-provision and therefore reduce CapEx. Deploy at cloud-like speed, which is really part of the ability that most organizations are looking for to provide the resources they need in this new economy. We want to be able to simplify managing this infrastructure with frictionless updates. So that's an OpEx improvement by having these templates, these software-defined templates to simplify the deployment. And then ultimately the goal is really to be able to develop applications faster with this new style of development and DevOps. So these benefits are what composable infrastructure does, and HPE Synergy is in fact our first product in this category of composable infrastructure. It was announced in 2015, and HPE has brought it to market as really one of the first vendors to have full composable infrastructure as an offering. So let me give you a quick understanding or demo of how this might be used online. So here I have a picture of a Synergy system, and within the Synergy system it has multiple elements of compute, storage, and fabric. And so what I'm going to hope to show you here is how we would use a single line of code to essentially define what elements we need and go pull them from the system to support the workload. So here we have an app dev test environment, and you can see this line of code with a server profile that just kind of floated across the screen. What that does is that says, hey, for my dev and test environment, I need a single amount of compute, I need a single amount of storage, and I need a single amount of fabric to provide the right amount of resources to support that environment. Then I may have another need for a database environment, and in this case, my template pulls resources of multiple compute, multiple storage, and some fabric to create all the resources that my database environment may need. As resource requirements change, I want to make this database bigger. I have a template that increases the size of the database. So again, through a single line of code, I can go grab more storage resources, apply it to this workload, and I've now just dynamically and flexibly increased the workload. Another example may be for peak usages. So in this case, for web, I may need some peak time, and so I deploy multiple web environments with some of the resources in this compute and storage and fabric set of fluid resource pools. And when I'm done with that after the peak, I can redeploy those resources. So I can essentially release those resources into the fluid pools and then aggregate a new set of resources to support a VDI environment. And then final example here is really object storage. So for object storage, in this instance, what we're saying is I'm going to go take a whole bunch of storage from this Synergy environment, pair it up with some compute, and now I've allocated resources to support my object storage environment. So hopefully that gives you a sense on how you can take use of these templates, map them to the fluid resource pools with the unified API to then deploy workloads as we need. So with that, I'd like to transition over to Vance Barron. So Vance leads my Synergy team in North America, and Vance is going to walk you through how the system actually does what I just described. So Vance, I'd like to turn it to you.
Great, thanks, Leslie. So again, what I want to walk through here is how we're delivering out the full composability and work through how the architectural principles were designed into the system. Essentially, again, the fluid pools of resources that are completely software definable and then interface through a unified API. So if you look at the Synergy offering that's out today, it really breaks down into 5 areas. The first is the composable frame itself. This is a single architecture with a design that scales. You can start simply with one 10U frame, and you can scale this out up to 21 in a single management domain today. It has auto-integrating of all compute, fabric, and storage resources, or those fluid pools that would be put into the frame. It has 12 bays that can accept those resources, as well as 3 independent fabrics that run out to allow for significant bandwidth. Everything is completely resilient with security and tight integration of management designed into it. This includes a complete 100% air-gapped management fabric that's also part of the overall solution that's completely separate from the communications fabric. It easily integrates into existing data centers that you would have today. It's the same physical footprint as our current blade system C7000 enclosure for customers using that. It's compatible with existing power and cooling facilities. And everything that's in this frame is simple, it's completely passive, and it's fully redundant. Anything that's active that's connected into there. And not only is it designed for today, but it's been designed for future capacities and requirements that will be coming out in the future so far as new processors and memory and storage and so forth. This includes the ability to do about 2.5 more times efficient cooling than the existing blade solution that's out there today, 25% more around power per resource that is available, and the backplane is significantly higher in that it scales to about a little over 2x what's out there today, and this will be scaling significantly higher when newer technologies come about, such as photonics. If you haven't heard of photonics, this is a newer technology that's coming out that essentially moves us from copper traces over to glass, which will significantly enhance the bandwidth capabilities in the industry. As that standard becomes ratified, the backplane for the HPE Synergy 12,000 frame has been already designed to allow that to come in there very cleanly. And so the second thing that we want to take a look at then is, what's the first set of resource pools that you can start to populate? This is the composable compute modules. So think of these as like servers that are there today, but there's some differences. The first thing that was designed in here is we wanted to make sure that we had a whole family of compute options that can meet any type of application workload or SLA. So the first thing is we have compute modules that will support both 2-socket and 4-socket systems that are Intel-based using E5 and E7 processors, so the highest bin processors that are available. From a core count perspective, we can scale up to 96 cores in a single compute environment. We've also optimized them for performance with right sizing of things like memory. We can scale all the way up to 12 terabytes of memory in the compute module itself. And the same thing on the storage side. We have a lot of different options so far as adapter choices that can be integrated into these compute options to give you different connectivity, both from a network and from a storage perspective. And then flexibility to allow different operating systems to run on the compute modules from anywhere. This is an option including everything from traditional mirror drives that would be directly attached to the compute modules to a USB stick that could be just put into one of the compute modules, all the way to SAN connectivity. And then another option that we'll talk a little bit more about is completely diskless boot from something called Image Streamer. That's an option. The third area I wanted to talk about is essentially taking a look at the network fabric that is part of the overall solution. And there's some significant innovation in the architecture here that is really allows customers to take cost out of their infrastructure and increase operational efficiencies. And essentially how this does it is there's a centralized composable fabric that can scale across multiple frames as you build out your environment. And one is it reduces complexity because everything is centralized into master modules. Think of these as like 121 port switches where all the connectivity for up to 60 of the compute modules actually connect and centralize. And it allows for increased performance as well because there's no additional hops that are required in any of the communication that goes across that overall environment. And it allows for a lot of simplification of operations. In that the way that it's been designed is there's one central point for all the management and the configuration that's required within the composable fabric. Therefore, you're able to go in. If there's an update to a firmware, you're able to centrally make that update happen. If there's a change to this environment, there's one touch point to go in there. And then if you're actually making an update to the system, it's been designed for a and B full redundant type of fabric. And so what we're able to do there is apply updates and make changes without having an impact to the overall environment that's up and running. The fourth area to talk about is the storage resources. So think of these as these are the fluid pools of storage that you'd be able to put into your Synergy environment. And there's three different architectures that are supported. One is tier one storage. So obviously think of this as like your mission critical type of applications, very performance centric, high performance VMs and so forth. This can attach into existing SAN infrastructure that you would have today and offer a full composable experience with HPE 3PAR. Secondly, it allows for software-defined storage. So the storage that's spread across all these different compute modules, what you're able to do is through things like HPE VSA or vSAN capabilities, you're able to share that and pool those resources together. And then the third option is extensive direct attached storage. So with Synergy, one of the things that was released is a storage module. So these can go into one of the bays, just like a compute module. And what you're able to do there then is have an extensive pool of direct attached storage that you can, through software definition, assign to any one of the compute modules. And today we can scale that up to 71 direct attached hard drives to any one of the compute modules. So things like VDI farms, this becomes a very optimized type of solution rather than having to go to disk shelves that are attached to traditional type of server environments. And the fifth element here we want to talk about are the management capabilities. And there's a couple core management capabilities that have been designed into Synergy as an overall solution. And these are essentially appliances that are part of the overall solution. And the first one is called the Composer. And think of this as like the central brains that really manage the state, the physical state of all the elements that are in the Synergy environment. Think of the network configurations, the firmware versions, firmware configurations, and so forth. And these are defined and put into the environment through the Composer. And this is where essentially the examples that you saw earlier on the templates, this is the central point of where all those templates are housed and how those then are pushed into the infrastructure so it can be stitched together based on the specific configuration requirements. The second piece of the overall management environment is something called the HPE Synergy Image Streamer. This is an optional component that you're able to deploy. And essentially this is a second appliance you're able to connect into one of the frames. And it allows you, just like getting a physical state defined by the Composer, what you're able to do is get a software definition state defined by the image streamer. So think of this as it's the bootable OS, it's the I/O driver versions, and the full OS configuration where you're truly able to go to stateless compute. So when we talk about the unified API, one of the things that really makes an impact for customers is that it allows for you to plug this into your existing tool sets that you have in your environment today. We realize there's also not just one tool, but every group within a data center generally is standardized on some tool sets based on the specific functions that they have to deliver. An example is facilities, the activities that they're monitoring around thermals and different types of placement recommendations within the data center are very different than like an IT administrator. And so with the unified API, what we're able to do is interface with the existing tool sets that your organizations have standardized on today and make the overall experience much easier to integrate the solution into your environment, speed up the delivery of the infrastructure as it moves across or touches the different teams that are in your organizations today, and then finally significantly reduce costs because the operational efficiencies and the less amount of complexity that the teams have to interface with directly into all the different hardware elements. So let's take a look at kind of what this looks like today and compare it to what the abilities with Synergy and a unified API can deliver customers. So this is a real life example that we worked with a customer, and it was a retail web example. And they looked at their processes today, and they identified that they had a number of different APIs that they had to touch across their overall infrastructure. So think of those like interfacing with PDUs and rack infrastructure and so forth. The server infrastructure, there were multiple APIs around the BIOS and array configurations and installing operating systems, the network and storage. At the end of the day, there were about 9 different APIs that they had to interface with. And the way that they manage this today is they did custom scripting, which many customers do, and they have different tools that do that. But it requires a lot of manual interface to go in and create that script. And it's fine, right, when you don't have to deploy a lot of different operating systems, or once you do, if it's very static for a while. But once you start to have to move quicker around application deployment or that cycle increases, it becomes more burdensome. In this case, it took up to 50 hours so far as just writing the script. Then what they did is they took a look and they went through the same scenario using Synergy. And so they took what was over 1,000 lines of code, and in their words is it was horrid, but it really worked. And what they were able to do using the unified API is reduce that essentially into 3 lines of code. So all that lower level interface work that they had to do that was really non-value add back to the business, we were able to extract that complexity, present that up through the unified API, and deliver out, just using the 3 lines of code, the same infrastructure or that web application that they had before, increasing obviously a lot of cost savings and efficiencies across their organization. Now, as customers look at moving towards a full composable environment, it's realized is this is a kind of there's a path, right? It's not something that just happens overnight. And so designed overall into the roadmap has been making sure that there's investment protection around the tools that you would use, how this would integrate into your existing environments, and the ability to standardize on processes. If you're an existing HPE customer, maybe using Blade system today, 3PAR, Virtual Connect, or some of our other types of solutions, what you're able to do today is to start to get elements of composability by using the latest version of OneView and getting that in your environment where you can start to deploy things and manage things based on a template base. And then you're able to also introduce full composable solutions such as HPE Synergy using the same interface and same processes so that you're not having to retrain your teams and your organization and able to deliver a fully composable experience out with your infrastructure, again, using that same processes that you would have and protect your investment. So as we just kind of summarize the benefits of Synergy, it's one infrastructure, has a massive amount of fluid pools of resources, compute, storage, and fabric, so it can support a very diverse set of workloads. It has a single management interface where you're able to interact with your infrastructure and have end-to-end control and management. It is completely software definable, simplification of your not only deployment, but also your operations, which is where most IT costs are really tied up today, is the management of the infrastructure once it's deployed. And then finally, it has investment protection in mind, designed for the future, not only having the ability to have the densest space compute platforms, high memory capabilities today, but also designed in for future technologies such as photonics and other things that are coming down the roadmap. So you're able to standardize on this architecture for long-term moving forward. So how do you begin your transformation to composable infrastructure today? I'd suggest 3 actions. One is contact your partner rep at WEEI and begin this discussion. Secondly, take a look at a demonstration of Synergy and really help you understand, kind of make it real for your environment, the impact that moving to a composable environment or infrastructure could have. And then if you're interested in more, there's obviously some information online where you can go to the website that's listed below. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to David Faithful with WEEI.
Thanks, Vance. Great information. My name is Dave Faithful. I am the Chief Architect here at WEEI, and we're working with customers on a regular basis to enable a composable infrastructure, Vance, that you were talking about and Leslie was talking about. And, I'll give you a little background on WEEI. We are a HPE Enterprise Platinum Partner. We are a privately owned, diversity-owned supplier founded in 1989. We are headquartered in Salem, New Hampshire. We have over 30 certified engineers on staff, all of whom work with our customers on a day-to-day basis to design, architect, and implement technology solutions that help their businesses move forward. We're recognized by our customers, by our partners, and by the industry as a leading solutions provider. But most importantly to us is working with our customers to ensure their success, ensure that they're achieving their goals, and that includes migrating and updating their environments to new, more fluid infrastructures. Our areas of expertise really center around 5 core technology areas. That includes a data center, enterprise mobility, networking and security, big data and analytics, and cloud solutions. We work with our customers to consult, assess, and design, and through professional services, implement solutions really across the gamut, from the desktop to the data center. We're very involved in all aspects of technology within our clients' environments. And as Leslie was talking about before, we're talking with our customers about how to support those 2 operating environments. Many of our customers today have already begun some transformation to a new style of business, to a new provisioning model. They're still, however, managing a traditional IT operations environment that includes traditional architectures, bare metal environments, and sometimes proprietary environments. And many of those environments are running applications which are critical to the business. And so they're apprehensive to move to an unknown platform that really can't deliver the value that they need, as well as the security they need to ensure their applications are going to stay up and running. At the same time, they've made investments in new provisioning techniques and tools, and so they've got these 2 environments that they're managing at the same time. What's really interesting is that just like many others out there, they are trying to juggle these 2 environments while at the same time cut infrastructure costs, cut operating expenses, yet deliver services to the business on demand, which is really the goal. How to use IT services to create a more competitive business environment and to deliver those new services back to the business when they need it. In addition to that, what we find is that customers are trying to consolidate their environment. So they've got this traditional IT environment, but they've also got to consolidate that environment at the same time and are unsure where to transition those platforms to. This is where WEEI really starts to add some value by understanding those environments and architecting and designing solutions to help them migrate to a new platform, which is one of the reasons why we're excited about Synergy. We're able to work with our customers to develop those instant provisioning models, to leverage the work they've already done with provisioning techniques, and then apply those to a new architecture with the Synergy platform, and deliver that instant ROI back to their businesses. Our trained, certified engineers are helping our customers to identify opportunities to consolidate and to migrate to a new platform. And we're helping our customers architect Synergy to accommodate those traditional IT environments and combine them with the work and the investments they've already made in their existing provisioning models. With a fluid IT assessment, we can help, again, to identify those applications and those existing, maybe proprietary infrastructures that will be good candidates to migrate and consolidate over to the Synergy platform. Our value-added integration services allow the Synergy platform to be delivered as a turnkey solution so that when it arrives to our customer site, it is ready to go. Out of the box, turn it on, and get to work. And we don't stop there. We provide ongoing support to our customers for everything from patching and updates, helping with those API calls, integration into their existing provisioning tools, and then an ongoing support in terms of being able to expand and grow their environments to accommodate the business needs. We're really focused on developing that run any workload type of environment for our customers, and we can help our customers to migrate and consolidate onto the Synergy platform. You know, as you mentioned, Vance, we have the opportunity to demo the Synergy platform. In fact, in our demo labs here, we have Synergy running with a composer, with an image streamer, and we can demo this for our customers. So for anyone interested, I encourage you to link to the URL on the screen and sign up for a free demonstration. We're happy to provide that for you. And for assessments, please feel free to contact us, and we will be happy to perform an assessment in your environment and understand those opportunities for consolidation and migration over to the Synergy platform. And so with that, I'd like to hand it back to our moderator, Karen.
Thanks so much. Wonderful presentation from all three of our speakers. Really appreciate it. I'm sure some of you may have questions, and we, again, welcome your questions. Unfortunately, since we're a little short on time, I think our experts are just going to focus on some frequently asked questions. So why don't we just jump right in? So, you know, I know that probably a lot of people are going to say, you know, if you were to get started with Synergy today, how do they fit it in their data center?
Yeah, so this is Vance. I can start with this, and Leslie or Dave, if you have additional context. But one of the things that's been designed into Synergy is some people look at this and say, geez, is this a completely proprietary stack, right? Am I locked in here? And the answer is, if you look at it, is with the unified API, we went through that example of kind of custom scripting and so forth. And so the two examples are, one is, you know, you can go through that process, or if you start with Synergy today, it can start, you know, in a small footprint and scale. And from a tool set perspective, it integrates very easily into your existing environments. We've partnered up with a lot of different software organizations, Chef, Puppet, Ansible, Microsoft, VMware, many others, right? So that out of the box, the experience with the Synergy infrastructure environment is going to be much cleaner in how it interfaces with those tools. And then also, if you think about it long term, is if you do decide to move to a different architecture down the road, it's a lot easier to make that change because you've invested a lot and there's a lot less integration points because of that unified environment. So we've really tried to make it very open because of the understanding customers have existing tool sets today, and the whole value here is the ability to integrate easily into that.
Yeah, and Vance, I'd add onto it this. Because of the modularity of Synergy, it's really easy to get started with it. It doesn't require a major capital expenditure investment to get started. It's easy to get started with one or two frames, with Composer, and with some blades to be able to migrate over some low-hanging fruit, so to speak. It's very easy to get started and develop that framework to then migrate more of the environment later on as needed, you know, and as demanded by the business.
Another question that I know comes up often, you know, people would like to know, you know, do they have to do it all at once? They have to go all in? And Dave, why don't we start and hear from you?
Yeah, and that kind of follows on what we were just talking about there. No, absolutely not. The great part about Synergy, again, is its modularity, as I just said. So the ability to start with a frame and the ability to leverage some of the existing tools that many of our customers are using today, such as OneView, allows them to migrate very easily over to the environment. And in fact, with some of the implementations that we've done, we have literally, out of the box to up and running, had customers migrating their environments within an hour. It's very, very simple to get started on the platform, and it's very simple to migrate from existing environments. In fact, many of our existing HPE Blade customers who are familiar with a lot of the tool sets will find a lot of ease and familiarity with the Synergy platform as well, and it will be a very natural migration for them. And then as they need to grow, they can simply add on. One of the benefits of Synergy is its ability to automatically deploy new hardware as it's added to the environment without having to make additional time investments in scripting or in growing the environment. It's just as simple as add blades and through the API and through other tools, automatically add it to the existing environment.
Okay, another question that I know comes up a lot. What kind of workloads are customers currently running with Synergy, and what type of workloads run well in this infrastructure?
I can start there, and again, Vance and Dave, guys, jump right in. I think to play off of what Dave just said is that while Synergy offers the ability to run your traditional workloads as well as new style of applications in the environment, what we see is some of the earlier adopters and customers have taken their existing applications, whether it be SQL Server, we've got customers running SAP environments, we've got a lot of VDI environments. So any environment that you would run in a virtualized workload is really well suited for Synergy. And we've seen a lot of customers start with those applications, knowing that from there they can have this environment with mixed workloads that are either virtualized, physical, or containerized. So we've seen a range. You have the ability to do all of that day one, or you have the ability to get started with the applications you have currently in your environment and then add on different kinds of workloads within that infrastructure. So I would start with that, and then, Vance, I don't know if you want to comment from there.
I would just highlight one of the things is from a performance perspective, Synergy just did break the #1 benchmark for VMmark. So made some significant improvements over the prior #1 benchmark that's there. And so it is a great platform to run a mixed virtual environment. And then to the point Leslie brought up was around DevOps. And we've seen a significant number of customers looking to improve that space around how to give their developers another option versus just going to the public cloud, but offer that same type of experience on-prem. So there's a lot of customers who are building those container type of environments out, and I would see that as another great workload.
And this is Dave, and I would just add one more thing to that. Very often what we see is customers apprehensive to move their bare metal environments to a virtualized environment, either due to performance reasons or because of lack of support for the application. And one of the great parts about Synergy is that you don't need to do that. You can still move your bare metal environments over to the Synergy platform and have them coexist on Synergy with your virtualized and your containerized platforms. And this is something that I think that we stress quite a bit with our customers. So really, you can have all of those different environments, bare metal, virtualized, containerized, on the same platform and managed through the same through the same management tools, which is something that our customers don't get today. It really starts to break down that barrier between the traditional IT operational environment and that new way of computing and the composability.
So I think we've already talked a little bit about compatibility. What about applications? Does it play well with other applications? And for those who've already invested in data center automation, how does Synergy fit into that environment?
So far as application support on Synergy is, if an application is running on industry standard servers today, most likely it's going to have complete capabilities on Synergy. There's nothing unique that has to happen there. So far as the ability to interface into existing tools that you have today, that it does so very efficiently to the point that we brought up earlier around the unified API and its ability to integrate. We've started to build out an ecosystem with a broad set of partners that's available, more information online there, but making sure that the out-of-box experience so far as with Synergy and interfacing into tool sets from VMware and Microsoft and others, that it's very clean and very simple for customers. There's been a tremendous amount of work that's been done there. And so we'll continue to build out that ecosystem. But even where that hasn't been done, because of the unified API, it's easy to get going into an existing environment with an application that a customer may be standardized on today or a tool set they may be using.
And this is Dave. I think I'd add one other thing to that. Vance, as you mentioned, there's these the compute nodes are using Intel processors, using the latest generation processors, which is fantastic, and it provides us an opportunity to take a look at the existing applications, the characteristics of those applications, and understand really what type of resources they actually need by migrating to this new platform. At the same time, consolidating. We're finding that many of these applications require fewer resources on the Synergy platform, allowing for greater consolidation simply because of the latest technology that's used in the Synergy platform. So, you get the opportunity to not only consolidate those applications and get that application support, as you mentioned, but at the same time, perhaps even reduce license costs in some case and increase density in the environment because of the latest and greatest technology.
Well, we're actually at the end of our time together, so I'd like to thank all of our speakers for their presentations. And I'd also like to thank everyone out there for joining us today for the special webcast, Accelerate Innovation in an Age of Digital Disruption with HPE Synergy. I'm Karen Bannon, and on behalf of Vance Barron, Leslie Marr, David Faithful, HPE, WEEI, and everyone at the Ziff Davis family of publications, thank you for your time and have a great day.